What keeps us stuck is the fear of failure. This idea that if we do go for it and we fail, that's how we'll be remembered. And on top of that, we won't get what we really wanted and sacrificed everything for. So, in this episode, I'm going to help you see through that in a way that you can never forget. So, sit back and enjoy. What's up? What's up? Welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here, I'm Mike. I'm a pattern breaking specialist and former MMA champion. And in this video, I want to focus on seeing through the fear of failure. And we've heard different phrases about fear, how it's false evidence appearing real. But the feelings that the fear bring up make it feel so real. And it can start to mess with your mind and get you to be afraid to take the next step or even the first step. So, to chip away at that fear, to get you to see through it, I want to start off with a fact, right? And I'm going to give you a story why it's a fact of how nobody remembers any of your failures. Nobody. And this is coming from somebody where my failures, my losses followed me throughout my career. I competed in jiu-jitsu and they have your wins and losses online. I've competed in amateur MMA, professional, and it feels like it matters because there's these numbers that follow. And especially with social media, you may come across some videos. But when you really start to pay attention at how fast life moves, nobody really remembers it like you do. Like you think they do. You think everybody's remembering every single part of your movie, of your life, but they don't. And the easiest way to think about it is, do you remember anybody's losses or anybody's failures in your friend group? And you realize you have to kind of look for it. Like you have to, like, I'm sure some things come to mind, but you actually have to sit there and think about it. And when was the last time you thought about friends or people in that way? Very rare, if ever. So, what makes you think other people are doing the same thing with you? Even when you see it with celebrities and athletes, yeah, people may see it, they may talk about it, they may post it, but they move on to the next thing pretty quickly. And the thing that really cemented that for me, that really put it in my face, was one of my losses when I was a professional. I had a really tough weight cut. And going into the fight, like I cut, I want to say about like 35 pounds. And I couldn't afford a fight nutritionist. So I had a bodybuilder nutritionist. And it helped me make the weight, right? I looked great, I looked shredded. But then putting the weight back on, that was not his strongest suit. That wasn't his skill. So because he does it for bodybuilding competitions. So my body crashed. I couldn't really digest food. I was like, he helped me eat pasta after, but like my stomach was sticking out. And when it came time to the fight, I adrenaline dumped and my energy crashed. And it felt like no matter what I did, and I fought all 3 rounds and I almost had a submission, but like my body just burnt out. And I felt so bummed because I felt like I was so prepared. I did everything I could. And I just had to watch the opportunity slip through my fingers, especially that it was a decision. And I remember my instructor was talking to me, and I was like backstage, I was crying. I was destroyed because I have way more wins than losses. And when the losses happened, that's what I felt I would be remembered for and remembered by. And I already felt alone in the journey, and the people that did support me, family, friends, teammates, I felt like I let them down on top of myself. And it's like, it almost felt like letting them down hurt more than letting myself down. And we went out to dinner. My instructor was like, hey, look, it's okay. You're going to get back to training and everything's going to be fine. Right? You'll come back and have a better performance, which I did. But in the moment, it's like you don't feel that way. You can't see it that way. And it's like, yeah, I'll get back to training, but man, this was supposed to be it. And the fear of failure plants this idea that it's this moment that you've prepared for or are preparing for. It's like this end of the movie moment. So when I lost and I went out to eat with like friends and teammates, I sat there at the table and I was like sulking. I was kind of like, I was trying to be there with everybody, but I was still in it. And I noticed like everybody was happy around me. But then when they got towards me, they would kind of like match how I'm feeling to know that like they were feeling for me. But then I sat back and I was just listening to everybody's conversations and just watching everything happening. And life just moved on. They were talking about training tomorrow morning. Some of them were talking about how they were going to go and gamble or drink because it was in Atlantic City, in New Jersey. And yeah, they were just talking about life continuing on. And I'm over here thinking, like, this is the end of me. And it just hit me like, nothing is different than if I were to win. The only thing that would have been different is when they interacted with me, it would just be more exciting rather than like, you know, kind of sad and like, bummed out. But the way that they were with each other, it was literally how it would be, how it was all the times that I won. And that's when I sat there and I realized, like, I mean, they care, right? Because they care about me, but they don't care at the same time. They came for the experience. It was a great experience. They got to support me, they got to yell and be more invested because they knew the person competing. And that was it. So I sat there. I was just like, wow, there is no end. Win or lose, it continues on. And it's like, logically, we know that, but emotionally, somewhere, we forget that. And that's the part that's driving us because that's the part that gets us to hesitate. So anytime I catch myself where I'm going towards something that's important to me and I feel myself hesitate, I always remember that moment where it's like, even like stuff like this. I put out a video and, sometimes I'll do multiple takes and I'll think like, well, I want to get this in one shot because, I don't want to fumble on my words. I want to like be intentional with my videos and show that I care and show that like I know what I'm talking about. Which then I'm trying to prevent the failure of messing up my words, taking too long of a pause. And like maybe that's what will be remembered in the video rather than the win of me sharing what I feel will be valuable. But then I reflect on like that moment after the fight, and it's like, either way, as you're watching this, you're still just gonna continue on. But my intention is, what are you going to continue on with? And what I'm hoping for is continuing with the knowing that no matter what you do, life is going to continue. You'll win and you'll realize, like, okay, it's just tomorrow. Like, tomorrow's still happening. And that's not to take away from the win, but to reinforce anytime there ever is a loss, because those actually help you get better. there's still tomorrow. It just keeps going. And in knowing for sure that nobody's keeping track other than you, and that's what you're holding on to, that's not allowing you to take off from the the starting point of the race. You know, when you see everybody lined up and the person's there with the gun and they fire it and then everybody goes, that fear is like you holding on to the gate and just like afraid to go. You let go, you'll surprise yourself at what you're able to accomplish and what happens as you accomplish it. Because all the fear is tied to the pain of things that already happened. It's just trying to find a sense of certainty when you don't know what's going to happen next. And sometimes, even though the pain that's felt from the fear of failure sucks, the reason why that feels safe is at least you know to some idea what to expect. That's really all it is. But another way to kind of switch it up is to look at it in the light that this next moment where you want to work towards this thing, it's a brand new moment in your life that's never happened before. And when you see it as just brand new, rather than unknown or that you don't know about it, it's brand new. And everything brand new is pretty dope. It's pretty nice. I like it. Right. And the best thing is, even if somebody does remember your losses and somebody does remember your failures, something to keep in mind is think about the effort it takes. And this is going in a direction you're not going to expect. Think about the focus and attention and time and energy it takes to remember someone's failures and losses. That means they're having a watchful eye on you. And what's happening is they are projecting their fears onto you. And this is the part that's different. In a way, they are counting on you to prove them wrong. They're hoping instead that you actually do succeed because you will be the real life testimony. You will be the inspiration that they were seeking. They're just seeking it in a very different way. They're seeking it through fear. But I've had this experience with people in my life, and one of them being my father. He he didn't mean, wrong at all. He was just afraid of seeing his son fighting. So any setbacks, he remembered it to hope that that would be like my breaking point. When I tore my ACL, MCL, and meniscus, and I was out, I was supposed to be out for 2 years. I came back in 9 months. During that injury, he was like, okay, so you're done now, right? It's like, no, I didn't even start fighting yet. He was like, yeah, but it's going to get worse. And like, remember you had the other injuries before, and then I had a loss. He was just like, okay, so what are you doing next? Like, are you going to step back? And I was just like, no. He said, okay, I just want you to be safe. Once I became a champion, his tone started to change. Once I defended my title, I didn't know, but he told me that I inspired him to start believing in himself more. I used to fight tooth and nail to try to get him to change his stance because I felt like he was against me. When I just stopped fighting against that and I just focused on my path and what I was striving towards. Without realizing it, that had an impact on him. And he said it. He was like, I know I kept trying to get you to quit and get you to stop. I was afraid for you, but you showed me what was possible. And that's when I realized, like, oh, people that appear like haters are actually cheering for you. It doesn't feel that way, but when you start to see it that way and realize the reason they're keeping close tabs on you is they're hoping you prove them wrong. They're hoping you will be the real life proof of possibility. Think about how awesome that is. So nobody's remembering your failures or your losses. In every which way, you're being cheered on. It's just being able to see it. Once you see it, you always feel it because I'm sure you're feeling it right now. So this is something I wanted to, if you're going to get anything from this video, let it be that. Yeah, for sure, like nobody's going to remember your failures or your losses, but the fact that you're being inspired by the people that feel like they're kind of putting you down, or even if they are putting you down, they're cheering you on inside. Their fear is cheering you on. So feel that. Let that be your drive. Let that be your spark. Let that be your permission to let go of the gate and take the first step in your own personal race. You're not racing anybody else. It's just you. Even if you're doing the same thing as other people, you're all doing it for your own reasons in your own way. So there really isn't even a race. We're just doing the same thing. So, with that being said, for sure, let me know what you get out of this in the comments. Would love to hear what stood out to you. So I'm wishing you an amazing day. If it's nighttime by you, I'm wishing you an amazing night. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and I will catch you later.